Illini lose to Maryland. Looks like they're one and done in the Big Ten tournament. Let's talk about it.
You are Locked On Illini, your daily podcast on the Illinois Fighting Illini. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today's postgame is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. My name is Sonny Verma. Thank you for joining me on Locked On Illini post-game edition. This one's not going to be as happy as the previous one, but regardless, I'm here every single day. So while you're here, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you've hit that subscribe button as we all get to have a group therapy session somewhat today. Obviously not the same feeling that we got yesterday after that Iowa game. I'm already reading some of the comments to this before the show even started. Not saying I blame any of you, but I don't know if I'm as down as the mood seems to be in this room tonight. Let's just talk about why. This was a good old-fashioned butt whooping. There's no other way to describe this. Illinois lost to 88-65, I think the final score was. I was starting to get the graphics ready. 88-65, a 23-point loss, which quite honestly felt like a 45-point loss. This was just a game where, when it comes to basketball, a lot of basketball, and in particular, a lot of college basketball in particular, especially in March. And Illinois fans, I know you guys understand what I'm saying. It always just kind of comes down to matchups. And Maryland, for whatever reason, Illinois has had trouble with for, 6 years straight now? 7? I believe this struggle started even before Brad Underwood, if I can recall correctly. Kevin Willard this year is obviously playing fantastic or coaching fantastic, but he's been ridiculed the last couple of years as being a really bad college basketball coach, and they were still beating Illinois. And today is just no different. But the difference is this year, Maryland is just a really good basketball team. A lot of the people in the Locked On Illini Discord didn't like it when I predicted Maryland win coming into today. I didn't imagine this. This was just one of those games where I'm trying to... The reason I think I'm not completely dejected right now is because I have recognized that the highs are highs and the lows are lows. And I've kind of tempered myself. If you watched this game today, Illinois was missing layups in that first half. And at some point, on multiple occasions, Will Riley just passed up wide open layups for reasons unknown to me. You had guys on Maryland who, I don't know if they had hamstring problems, but they'd literally be on the ground, writhing in pain, realize their team has the ball, get up from complaining about their knee pain, get the ball, shoot a three-pointer, get fouled in the act, and the ball would go in. When things like that happen, it's one of those, okay, this is just going to be one of those days. And yeah, as an Illinois fan, do I wish there was a little more space between these sort of games? Obviously, we just experienced this 5 games ago against Duke. Duke is the best team in the country. Maryland themselves, I think, is a top 10, top 12 team in the country. And just a really bad matchup for Illinois. The key is, okay, guys, I'll ask you. We got 52 people in here now. Usually for the second segment, I talk about who the MVP of this game is. I don't think anyone can name an MVP of this game. So at this point, I just want to hear in the comment section who you think played okay. That's it. That's where my barometer is for this game. This was an all-time stinker of a ball game. It's just, if Illinois lost by 12 points, but they were clearly outclassed by Maryland, maybe kind of the game like yesterday against Iowa, I think I would feel so much worse. But collectively, when the entire team plays this badly, maybe this is a glass half full, but I just don't see this happening. I'm, in a way, and now this is really going to annoy some of you, I'm kind of glad they got this out of the way. they just got done winning 4 games in a row, very impressively, might I add. I believe in the last 3 games, they've outscored their opponents by 60 points. This is a team, in the style of basketball that they play, they need to be hot when it comes to shooting. And I don't think I'm out of line when I say I can't imagine this team just being hot from three-point land for 10 straight games, for 12 straight games, whatever it would take to get to the end of the year. So it's one of those where, again, not official box scores, but CBS has us 6 for 27 from three-point land. And collectively, it's not even like Kasparis had a bad game, Will Riley had a game, or Tommy had a bad game. No, everybody had a bad game. A complete stinker. There's only one guy who I would actually grade out positively, and so that's why I'm waiting to see in the comment section if you guys agree with me. I'll talk about him in the next section. But he's the guy who I didn't want to count on today when it comes to having any sort of chance at beating Maryland. But you know what? Again, it's just one of those where I know, there's going to be people in the chat who say, I told you so. Who, I'm having fun with you, Czar. I'm having fun with you, St. Dominic's Rosary, who are always in those post games, after the victory, saying it doesn't matter. It's Sweet 16 or bust. I'm hoping I'm hearing the same thing from you guys in the chat today. I haven't gotten a chance to look yet. But if it's Sweet 16 or bust, ultimately, big picture, this game didn't matter. In what ways did this game matter? Possibly seeding. But I was texting with a buddy of mine who's a bracketologist himself. He thinks worst case at this point will fall to 7. For the most part, on Fridays is when the brackets are set and finalized. So he was pretty confident that we're not going to fall down to 8 at this point, which is the key, right? We don't want to have a potential matchup with the number 1 team in that second round. Heck, if Illinois plays like they did today, we want to play anybody in that first round of the tournament. But the key is to avoid that 8 line. He actually thought that we have a pretty good chance at staying at number 6, which would be just the best case scenario. If you take a look at some of these bracket scenarios, I'd almost rather finish 6th than 5. Just because of what I started off this show talking about. Matchups. Illinois is just one of those teams that if you have the length to match what they have, and you can kind of play a little bully ball against Illinois, it's tough for the Illini to come through. What Illinois kind of counts on doing is, using their 2 big men, Avicic, now Morez Johnson, and making those 3-point shots. But today, Maryland kept attacking, and being physical on the defensive end, not letting anybody, mainly Kylan Boswell. Kevin Willard talked about it. Like, he basically would not let Kylan Boswell repeat what he did yesterday. And he didn't. Finished with a 14, 3, and 1 stat line today. 6 for 16 from the field. This doesn't leave a good taste in my mouth. And I know this doesn't taste good in a lot of our mouths right now, right? No one wants to lose by 23 points. We lost by 21 points to Maryland last time. But that's kind of what I'm saying. I wish things were different. But Maryland, not just this year, but even in years prior when this team was not good, I can't explain it. It's the same way Illinois is 9-1 against Iowa over the last 10 games. Maryland's just one of those teams that Brad just has not been able to figure out. I don't think my mindset has changed in one way or the other when it comes to the actual big tournament coming up next week. Whether we play Thursday or whether we play Friday. Again, because of the stinker of the game, I still think that, what I want is that second weekend. That's my hope. Am I feeling confident about it? What's it going to come down to? It's going to come down to matchups. Illinois has not had very good luck when it comes to the matchups that they've had over the last couple of seasons when it comes in the NCAA tournament. Last year, they were able to prevail. Last year, they were able to make it to the Elite 8. Are they going to be able to this year? I don't know. All I know is I'm going to be on edge on this Sunday, trying to figure out, hey, are they going to be a 5 seed, a 6 seed, 7 seed, maybe an 8 seed? Hopefully not. But more importantly, I just want to see how these matchups end up being, because we're seeing today it's going to matter for this Illini team. We're all about the stats because numbers don't lie. And when it comes to the all-new Nissan Armada PRO-4X, the numbers are on an MVP level. With the ability to tow up to 8,500 pounds, it can quite literally carry the whole team, plus the gear wherever you need to go. It's powered by a twin-turbo V6 engine, delivering the strength and performance to handle highways, back roads, and everything in between. And with room for up to 8 people, the Armada PRO-4X is built for big crews, big adventures, and even bigger memories. Whether you're exploring off-road trails or rolling up to the arena, the Armada PRO-4X brings power, versatility, and style wherever you go. Take your adventures to new heights in the all-new Nissan Armada PRO-4X. Learn more at nissanusa.com. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get on it than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, so even if you miss the opening tip-off and want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in on the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, so let's talk about what went well this game. All right, next segment. No, I'm kidding. Like, Morez Johnson Jr., hat tip to him. I think the reason that this team lost by the amount that they did is they counted on Morez way too much. Morez is there to run, to play defense, and to rebound the ball. And yet, multiple times, Illinois, for whatever reason, just tried to feed him down low and try to set up easy buckets for Morez when that's just not his game. And that's before this injury even happened. He hasn't really developed his offensive game yet. He's one of those players like a Trey White who's able to get his points, get his box score stats without being involved in the game plan whatsoever. Today, for whatever reason, Illinois really tried to, now thinking out loud, maybe because Tommy was so bad. This was the worst game Tomislav Ivica has had in a very long time. We joked around about this Maryland, that first game not counting because Tommy was out. Well, Tommy might as well have been out today too, because he had 3 fouls just within in the first half, with 10 minutes to go in the first half. The team was so bad that Tommy picked up 2 quick fouls, and then Brad Underwood had no choice but to bring him in 5 or 6 minutes into that first half, where, of course, he picked up foul number 3. And then he picked up foul number 4 very early in the second half. He was just non-existent. And the offense was non-existent. The reason Brad Underwood had to bring Tommy back is because Kylan Boswell was reverting to what he does a month and a half ago, taking ill-advised 3-point shots. I know the conversation is going on with Kasparis, and the reason I don't bring it up is because I don't even know what to say anymore. Kasparis, the scouting report is out on him. Like, force him to dribble into traffic, because if he dribbles into traffic, there's a good chance that you can swipe it from him. And he continues to be his own worst enemy with some of the passes that he makes. He does a lot of good for you, but over the past almost month now, there hasn't been a lot of good. There's been a whole bunch of bad. Today, his box score looks okay: 15 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists. Shot 4 of 10 from the field, 1 of 3 from three-point land. And guess what? 6 turnovers again. I believe he had 6 turnovers yesterday, too. Someone can correct me in the chat. But I believe so that's 12 turnovers in the last 2 games. At that point, Someone in the chat yesterday was saying, "Would you bench Kasparis?" And I said that was silly. I don't care how good at basketball you are. If you are the point guard, if you are the playmaker, if you are the guy that is supposed to have the ball in your hands for the majority of the time on offense, and you're turning the ball over 12 times in 2 games, well, then maybe I'm the idiot. You absolutely should not be. Either make an adjustment, let Will be the playmaker, but you know what? Will Riley had a bad game today too. And we haven't said that often. Will just seemed kind of overwhelmed from the beginning by Maryland's size. They played very physical with him to the point where, as I mentioned, he's one of the guys earlier in the game who just had wide open layups in front of him, but just decided to do an extra pass to Morez Johnson, which just wasn't necessary, which caused Morez to make a move. You never want Morez to make any sort of move when he has the ball. Just if you can hand it to him and he can go up and dunk it, fine. But if he has to bring the ball down, that's not good news for if you're an Illini fan. If he has to make any sort of move, that's just not a good feeling when you're watching it as a fan. And yet just wide open layups. And not just, just forcing threes. They missed their first 6 3-pointers. And again, I just got done finished talking about 6 out of 27. We talked about how we can deal with bad Kasparis games if the rest of the team, shows the effort that they have over the last 4 games. Like when Kasparis plays bad and the rest of the team plays bad, we lose by 23. Honestly, should have been 33 points to, granted, a very good Maryland team. And I'm not trying to take away from Maryland at all. So if there are any Maryland fans in here or who's going to find me down the road, all credit to you guys. Hand up, I'm one of those guys who ridiculed Kevin Willard for a very, very long time. He's figured it out this year. He hit the jackpot with some of the moves he made in the offseason. Oh, and also having an NBA lottery pick, comes in handy. But guess what? Illinois has a lottery pick too. I know some of you don't agree. A lot of Illini fans don't agree. And I don't blame you. Just conversations need to be had with Kasparis. Maybe, having this week layoff where maybe a conversation needs to be had. The coaching staff just needs to, hey, KJ, what do we want to do? What are we doing here? We need you to, because right now he doesn't look confident to me. And I think the announcers talked about that in the game as well. Like he seems very hesitant. And that's not what he was earlier in the year. Even when he wasn't shooting or scoring, he still had an aura about him. He still looked like he felt like he was the best player on the court. Right now, he looks like he's afraid to make mistakes, which is bad because that's leading him to making mistakes. Guys, we got 83 people in here, 22 likes. Let's even that math up while you're watching this. Again, win or lose, all season long, I'm here. Grinding it out, trying to create Illini content for you guys. I talked about this yesterday, and I said I wasn't trying to be sappy. But I did say after that Iowa game that I wanted to soak it in. Because who knows, especially with the way this basketball team plays, that postgame that we had yesterday might have been the last time we all got to experience a victory together. And, I know confidence was sky high, and I don't blame you. But here comes the spin zone. And my everydayers, you guys know what I'm about to say. If you watch this show more than once a week, thank you, by the way, you know what I'm about to say. Every time the national media talks about the Illini, talks about them being a sleeper, talks about them being, a high ceiling team. I know I mentioned the high ceiling thing, but I'm talking to you guys. This is me talking to other friends who also are rooting for the same college basketball team. I'm not a national media guy. But when the national media guys talk about, hey, here come the Illini. This is going to be a sleeper team. They could absolutely make it to the Final Four. Nobody wants to play Illinois. They're back. That's when Illinois ends up throwing up a stinker. And I've been hinting at it over the last couple of games. That's actually why I even said a couple of days ago, I wouldn't mind necessarily if we didn't end up winning this Big Ten tournament. Would I have liked to win this Big Ten tournament? Of course. Of course. I'm being silly here. But I'm also saying it's not the end of the world that we didn't. If we lost like this to Wisconsin or UCLA, I would maybe think differently. But for me, who we lost to matters. Maryland was the pick of a lot of people to win this Big Ten tournament. And I genuinely think they can win this Big Ten tournament. And they're a sleeper pick. They're not deep. Obviously, they're not deep, but man, those 5-6 guys are so good. I mean, you had Rodney Rice doing his best Peyton Samford imitation from yesterday. There was just no stopping him. Derek Queen, I've said this before all season long. He's been my favorite player to watch in the entire Big Ten Conference that doesn't play for Illinois. It's just a really good, solid basketball team. And Illinois got their butt kicked today. I'd rather they get this out of the way, because you know what's going to happen? If you don't know what's going to happen, scroll up. I haven't caught up to the chat yet, but read what the vibes are already. And you know when Illinois plays their best? When people are negative towards them. When their backs are against the wall. When people are counting them out. That's when Brad Underwood shows up. Let's get to those said comments right after this. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. And you can stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Me personally, I'm spending way too much money going out to eat. I got 2 kids. I'm tired. It's easy to go get food from the fast food restaurant. I know I got to keep that in check. And with Monarch Money, instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. Again, if you haven't subscribed to this channel, we've reached, I think, 2,300 already. We're hoping to hit 2,400 before the season's over. So if you can help me with that, you may not even realize you're not subscribed at all. With the way social media works, basically, if they notice you're always clicking in, they're going to send it to your algorithm anyway. But trust me, if you hit the like button, if you yourself are subscribed, you're going to help this channel grow to other Illini fans. Jason Lynch kicks us off. Need to build a team with solid dudes that stick around 3 to 4 years, or this will be the way things will be. Ups and downs all season long. Jason, I've had this conversation on this show before, and I'm not saying you're wrong. You're essentially saying go the Purdue method. And, we'll see how Purdue does this year. But in my opinion, if you want to win Big Ten championships, that's what your main focus is on, then you might be right, Jason. But I don't think 3 and 4 year guys can win national championships anymore. I don't know if they can make Final Fours as much anymore. Michigan State has turned into Michigan State, not necessarily because of their supporting cast, but because Jace Richardson has turned into an absolute superstar in his own right. A guy who's playing himself into a lottery pick now that he's gotten more minutes. You're going to need those one and done guys. And I know this year is going the way it has. The story isn't written, by the way. I just want to establish that. The story is not written about this basketball team. But next year is what I envision a real Brad Underwood team looking like moving forward. Hopefully, I'm being very clear about this. Hopefully, we get Tommy back. We get Morez Johnson back. We get Trey White back. Maybe Kylan Boswell back. Jake Davis back. Ben Humrickhouse back. A lot of the core of the team, if they return next year, and then we, supplant that with, a Game Sar and, one or two other just stars that, of course, we haven't heard of. Keep in mind, I hadn't even heard of Kaspersky Jonas until May of last year. So the next star on next year's team we may have not even heard of yet at this point. But Jason, to kind of answer your question, I do think next year will be the type of team I think you're talking about. This year's just different because they replaced 10 guys. So, yeah, that's where the ups and downs, and I've been saying all season long that we were going to have massive plateaus and valleys, and that's exactly what this team has looked like. Jason says, haven't been able to recruit in-state players in a long time. That's not true. We literally just had Io. We had Terrence Shannon Jr. come in. We have Morez Johnson here. We had Ty Rogers here. Jason, I know people have been talking about that in the past, but that hasn't been the case as of late, especially with Tim Anderson when we had him in town. We had Chin Coleman. Those two guys, for the most part, really changed the feel of Illinois in our state. Jason says Maryland would have beat Duke tonight. I mean, they shot their butts off, right? Like we saw that yesterday. It just happens to be from our team. Czar, my good old friend, says just a mediocre team. Failure was when this roster was built. Respectfully disagree. TM says do not expect Illinois to get out of the first weekend. Honestly, my opinion, I can see them losing the first game. I can see them making an Elite Eight run. It really is that simple with me. It's which version of this Illinois team shows up. Look, if we go back to yesterday's episode, there's a lot of we're back. Nobody can beat this team. Again, one day later, not even 24 hours later, we're losing by 23 points and people are already jumping off the ship. Guys, do whatever you want. I'm not jumping you. I know I've got the life preserver on. I've tied it up. It's locked in tight. I never know what to expect with this basketball team, but I'm not ready to jump off yet. It's a talented group that we have out there. What's it going to come down to? It's going to come down to the matchups, and that's the very first thing I'm going to take a look at. I'd rather have good matchups in a good bracket and be the number 8 seed than be a number 5 seed, but then go up against the SEC equivalent of what Maryland is. Because then you're right. Not only do we not make it out of the first weekend, we may not make it out of the first round. It's going to be all about matchups, and this, in particular with this team, because this team really is dependent on matchups. 28 likes. Let's try to get that higher up. Marky Mark says Tommy looked gassed, still not full strength after illness. Mark, I don't think so. I think he just had a bad game. I think he had some very dumb plays on defense where he just being absent-minded. Shouldn't have picked up fouls. I'm not even saying the refs called fouls that they shouldn't have. No, they were clearly fouls, and he just clearly put him in places that he shouldn't have needed to. Just a really bad game. That's it. It's one of those where you burn the game tape, throw it in the trash, and then take 1 week to regroup and just talk about collectively over the last month what's gone right, what's gone wrong. Jason Long says, everyone jump off the bus. This game does not change my thoughts on this team. All right, Jason agrees with me. Tommy gets foul trouble early, and we just had an off game. Maryland's a tough matchup for anyone, so move on to the next one. Mike says, we lost. Okay, now to move on, get ready for the tournament. Exactly. That's what matters, right? It's the national tournament that really matters. Czar says, agree against good teams. I never like our coaching matchup. Maybe, but we just beat Michigan a week ago. And a lot of people had, at that point, Dusty May as the coach of the Big Ten Conference, coach of the year. And Brad Underwood did just finally beat Matt Painter as well. So it's not, I get what you're saying. I know what you mean, but I'm not there with you. I'm not saying Brad's the best coach in the world, but I'm not just going to write him off yet. Speaking of writing him off, Fedigator's already written off KJ. I'm not there yet, but I'm surprised, guys. Not surprised. It's just one of those where even I'm tired of making excuses. At some point, I said in the Discord last night, I'm calling it. KJ's going to win us the game this year. We're running out of games. At this point, after this, it's literally one and done. So either KJ's got to show up, or 3 or 4 of the other guys have to show up. And if KJ goes out like this, it's going to be really interesting to see how he's remembered in an Illini uniform. Mike also says, I think Riley will come back. Mike, there's a better chance of me suiting up for the Illini next year. Andrew says Illinois keeps on getting embarrassed in big games multiple times this season, and even the past seasons can't keep getting destroyed and be a serious program. Again, I know that's the mood. This is a therapy session. Everyone's allowed to get whatever hot takes they want for 24 hours, and you're allowed to believe whatever you want. I'm not there anymore. Okay, we've won big games now. That Iowa State game last year was a huge game in the Sweet 16, and Illinois did prevail there. What happened against UConn? UConn's one of the all-time best teams. Schlagboy says, I expected a 30-point loss, so I'm not surprised. I hope you got plus money on that. Better Gator says, Riley is gone. That's why Dami Star is all but committed. There's a lot of truth to that. Let me get to one more quick. Jay summarized it here. Jay Boak summarizes it here. Everyone sucked. I should just make that the title of this episode. Everyone just stunk today. Again, Kenosha says this is who they are. They didn't play bad. We are an overrated squad. See, it's one of the, I don't blame it. Like, all fan bases are like this, just so incredibly moody. In their wins, they're like, we can win it all. We can go to the Final Four, score 100 points. Nobody can keep up. But then you'll have the same guys. Again, I love you. I appreciate you guys joining me for every post game. I sincerely mean it. Who will say it doesn't matter. Sweet 16 or nothing. These wins don't matter. But then, as soon as they lose a game, you see them talk about this. Roster's just, it's not up to par. We knew it. This team stinks. We got to pick one or the other. The end goal is the Sweet 16. And if that's your barometer, I'm good with it. I don't necessarily agree, but I understand and I respect your decision. I don't know if I agree with is just the flip-flopping. That do these individual games matter or not? Joe says Ben or Morez, I guess. And I think he's talking about me trying to pick who played well. Like, who played okay in this game. And yeah, the only guy I could think of was Morez Johnson, who today had 6 points, 9 rebounds, 28 minutes, 4 blocks. I mean, he was a game changer. And let me just say it again. I'm so glad that he's back and he's healthy. And he's one of the reasons that I'm still not so down on what's going to happen next week now. Kenosha says Illinois will lose first or second round tourney. You play like this, you lose to Florida Atlantic 100%. But you play like you played against Michigan, and you can take down a 2 seed. So that's the yin and yang of this team. That's what makes this team so frustrating. That's what's made this season so rocky, such a roller coaster ride. Rossi, nice to see you. Friend of the Discord says we are so inconsistent. Nobody knows. Richard says Hummer's slow and weak, and Morez doesn't have great hands. Anyway, stop passing the ball to him with one hand. It's literally one of my biggest pet peeves of this basketball team. You all know I love Morez, but don't make him make an offensive move yet. He's not ready for that. He's hopefully going to have an off season of working with Orlando, and maybe he can develop 1 or 2 shots on offense. Right now, he doesn't have that. Just let him run, let him grab rebounds, let him play some defense for you. You have enough guys on this team that can score. Hypothetically. You don't need Morez's help on that. Let him do well what he does well. Brad says outclassed and outcoached again. ProDog also agrees. We won't make it past the first game. Czar says this team has 0 chance at winning 2 games in the tourney. Okay. Again, it's just one of those. Okay. St. Dominic says 8 seed. Steven, nice to see you, says send Underwood on his way somewhere else. He's an embarrassment. Oh, I love these post-game shows after a loss. But again, I'm always here regardless because I appreciate you guys. Andrew says fully healthy, and this is how they play. Yeah, I think this is who they are. Inconsistent players who occasionally play well. Brad was also outcoached again. Serena says KJ turnovers and bad decisions at times are momentum killers. At least he got 10 rebounds. Yeah, I mean, the box score looks okay, but I mean, you described it. It's one of those where he's barely average. Like, if Kasparis wasn't Kasparis, he would not be playing at the end of games right now. He just does too many things that are hurting this basketball team. All right, boys and girls, I think I'm going to wrap it up there. I got St. Dominic's here. I hate this. I hate going into the postseason week, hoping and wishing this team is not good. What qualifies as a bad season, finishing 7th in the Big Ten and getting blown out by Maryland in the Big Ten tournament. See, this is what I'm talking about. St. Dominic's Rosie, I appreciate you. I love you. You've been in the postgame of every single show, and I've given you the spotlight, but this is what I'm talking about. In games where they beat Purdue, the comments are, well, I've seen them beat Purdue before. It doesn't matter. In games where they blow out Iowa by 42 points combined in the 2 games, well, it doesn't matter. All that matters is Sweet 16. You just got to keep that same energy, brother. That's it. Keep that same energy. If the wins don't matter, these little losses don't matter. I want to hear what you guys have to say. Let me know in the comment section. Enjoy your weekend, guys. I do plan on coming up with some sort of content over the weekend. Let me know if there's something in particular you guys want to see. I'll have it ready for you. Again, my show, but I literally get feedback from you guys. There's a dozen of you guys who are messaging me on all your favorite social medias every single day. TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. Just do a search for Locked On Illini or The Sunny V. It's literally right there on the screen on YouTube if you're watching on YouTube. And you guys tell me what you guys want to watch, and I'll do a segment on it. I enjoy it. Like, I understand how lucky I am to have the position I have today. And so, I'm grateful for it. If you have some ideas, thank you all so much for tuning in today. I'm telling you guys, don't give up yet. I'm not giving up yet. I'm going to enjoy a 1-week break. Hopefully the team regroups, and maybe, let's do that. Sunday night, all of you join me, Selection Sunday. We'll talk about the bracket. We'll talk about the matchups, and then we'll get a vibe check. Until then, ILL. Love you guys.